Hi, I'm Randy Clark, and I am in Hyderabad, India, with my friend Pastor Bob Sawvelle, and he has been leading. He and another pastor friend of mine, Carter Wood, they've led a team for me. Been here 10 days, and Bob, I know you've been with me before, but what was this trip like in comparison to other trips? How many trips have you been with us at global teams and on?
I think this was the 11th.
The 11th trip.
11th global team.
How would you grade this one in comparison to all the others you've gone on?
Well, this one really surprised me in terms of the number of healings and especially miracles, blind eyes in particular, that happened in such a concentrated period of time. And in fact, Carter and I were talking the other day at lunch, and some of the early trips that we made with Global, 2002, 2003, we saw miracles, definitely, but maybe one or two blind on a whole trip.
Right.
In one day, we saw 15 blind healed in the village between all the team members, about 20, 21 team members, and then 5 more in the nighttime crusade meeting. That was in one day.
So you had 20 blind healed in one day.
In one day.
Yeah, I can remember. How big is this team?
About 20. At that time it was 21. I think we had 5 more come in.
It was 21 that day, and 20 blind eyes. You're right. It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago that we finally saw about 8 healed in one day, and we may see 20 or 40 healed in 3 weeks, with 70 on the team. This is by far the most blind. I think the most blind we ever had before was 6 in one day, and you had 20
in one day, which was the second day of our ministry. So we had a 3-day crusade, and in the daytime we were going to the village to minister in the village. So we had day 1 in the village ministry, and we had the nighttime crusade, which was good. We had some good for the first night. So the second day we've got village outreach and crusade, and the second day the team's ministering, we saw 20 blind.
Okay, now in the village, how big was the village? How many people do you think?
These villages might have been a couple hundred, maybe 300 people.
So you got 200 to 300 people, and 15 blind are healed in the village.
And that was actually,
because when we had those bigger numbers, we had 6,000 to 10,000 people over 20,000 people in the meetings. You got 200, maybe 300.
Well, this was actually between 3 villages, so maybe we had multiplied times 3. So we split the team up and go to 3 villages.
Okay.
But still, maybe 600 people.
Okay.
So,
what do you think was unusual? What was different? What else was it unusual in any other way?
It was interesting because at one point, especially on that second day when some of this, because I watched one of the GSSM students, Tim Berry, pray for 3 people in a row, and I was starting to have a little bit of a head cold, so I wasn't kind of taking it easy, and actually sat down in the chair while in the midst of all this ministry was going on. And I watched Tim pray for 3 people in a row that were blind, and just one right after the other were healed in just a matter of like 10 minutes. And one of the men that was healed, I forget which eye it was, but the eye was white, and Tim prayed, and it was, after just a couple minutes, he goes, I can see, yet there was no change in his eye. And so as I was reflecting back, and I was watching some of the other team members, some of the different healings taking place, there seemed to be nothing different about what was happening. There wasn't like a real weighty presence of the Lord per se, or it was just, God was moving, healings were happening, the team was just doing what they were taught, and it was just happening, just real easy.
And but were you aware that that was not a very open area, and James himself was shocked that so much happened because it had been a non-responsive Hindu area with very little response in the past. And James, the apostolic overseer in India here, was shocked at the response.
Yeah. I did ask him after the first night of the crusade meeting, we had about 1,000 people there. I asked him, I said, well, how was that? And he goes, well, I expected about 500. And we're really? And then 1,000. And then the next night it was 2,000. And I could tell there was an excitement, and then we had, of course, 20 blind healed that day. So the third day, we ended up having about 3,200 in the meeting that night.
Now these are people from villages.
From the villages. And so word began to spread of the healings and the miracles, and so the crowd just continued to grow.
Hindus.
Mostly Hindus. And we had about 1,000 saved between the crusade meetings and in the villages. And that Friday afternoon, that third afternoon for the third night of the crusade, I was just kind of praying, trying to, Lord, do you have any words of knowledge? And just simply,
call the blind up. I mean, and I was like, well, it's kind of a no-brainer because we had 20 healed the next day, so I thought, well, we'll just have some...
The day before.
The day before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, the day before. And so we'll just have someone give testimonies, and we'll just call the blind up and just let the team be praying for them while I start the message. And so we did. We called the blind up. Many people came up. I also felt like we're supposed to bring up those with severe back problems. We brought those up as well, just those two groups. The team began to pray for the blind, and that's when Jennifer saw 4 blind eyes open, 2 different individuals, right while I was speaking. And I think there was another person someone else prayed for that had her sight received as well, just during the message. And then more blind eyes happened during the other ministry time. So just the power of the testimony and what had already started the day before just continued on into that third night. And so I believe that that third day then, between what took place in the village and then in the night meetings, there was another 22 blind healed. 24 blind healed, because we had a total of 44 in those 3 days of ministry in that village.
In the villages.
Yeah, and the crusade there.
And how many days was that? 5 days? 3 days you had how many? 44 blind with a team of 20 to 24.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably, I mean, that is not probably, that is the most we've ever seen. And I wasn't even here.